Hello, everyone. I am back for the second season of Sold. I'm so happy to be back. I really miss this space. I miss this opportunity. I miss this moment to connect with all of you who are listening, who are watching, who are tuning in. Thank you so much for your support, by the way. I really do. I a lot of people do this to essentially generate an audience. And of course, that's one of the byproducts of doing this type of work. But this is something that I felt called to do for years. And now that it's something that I'm actually devoting my energy to, it feels right for me. And because of that, it's more than just a space where I hope to gain reviews or an audience or people supporting my work or people interested in my offerings. It's much more than that. It's a space for me to share my heart. And so I really do appreciate all of the listeners and viewers out there. And for those who don't know me, I'm Christina Giordano, the founder of Sold, your go-to resource for soulful entrepreneurship. And my philosophy is this: people can no longer be sold to, they must be sold to. This is selling with soul. This is marketing with integrity, where you no longer need to compromise your authenticity, your boundaries, your uniqueness, your wholeness. This is messaging in a way that actually reflects the transformation you provide because it's your story, your transformation, and nobody can compete with that. This is monetizing yourself in a way that honors your fullness, all of the pieces and parts of you that are meant to be divinely resourced. Join me every Wednesday to learn all of this and more. For now, let's jump right in. So, like I said, I am back for season 2 of Sold. And this season, as opposed to the last one, we are going deep. We're going deep into territory that I have been apprehensive about talking about. It's territory where I feel uncomfortable and also a place where I long to be seen and heard, but so far have not taken that step to do so. So this is me doing it, guys. I'm jumping right in. And if you've been in my world for a while, you know that back in 2020, I pivoted the way that I help people market it themselves. So going back just a little bit before that, I started this business back in 2013. It wasn't called Sold then because while it was aligned in me starting my business, it wasn't soulful the way that I see soulful now. I wasn't teaching people how to sell a soul in this new paradigm of selling. I was teaching people how to operate and integrate the old way of marketing into their marketing solutions. And so essentially, a lot of the work was me acting as a marketing director. So instead of doing it for them, or instead of them doing it themselves, I was kind of doing the work for them. And this was, of course, for my larger clients, but even for my smaller ones too, I would kind of really kind of get in there and do it for them, doing almost, well, it was definitely too much for them to be able to truly sell the soul, but it was too much for me in that I started to resent the actual doing of it. And so throughout those kind of several years, actually 2013 through 2020, I decided to kind of move from doing the marketing piece for them. And I started to teach them how to do it themselves. And the pivot in 2020 was a result of the pandemic. So I lost a bunch of clients who decided that marketing, as necessary as it is, must be the first to go in order to tighten up the budget. And side note, all of the businesses with that type of mentality went under, unfortunately, because in my opinion, marketing is quite literally the life force of a business. So if there's one thing you take away from that, it is to keep investing in marketing, keep investing in your expansion, because that's the way we expand in business is how we market ourselves. So as this was happening, I remember thinking to myself, this is oddly what I've been wanting for quite some time. And it was painful losing clients, but it was ultimately what I truly wanted because, as I said, I started to majorly resent the work that I was doing for them. So here's my honest opinion on marketing. Nobody can do it for you. Literally no one, especially if you're the type of entrepreneur who feels as though your purpose and your mission is tied to the work that you do. No one can figure out how to market your business for you without you being massively present and involved in the actual strategy. And also, I'd say in the actual implementation of it. And I resented the work because it wasn't mine. Their businesses weren't mine. I cared about them. I cared about their businesses, but not with the same fire that I had for my own business. And so the work became incredibly draining. And this season of Sold, I'm going to be talking a lot about life force energy, the thing that makes us go. Marketing is also a form of life force energy. And interestingly, the things that were draining me had gotten to such a point of feeling completely empty that the pivot essentially saved my life. The pivot of losing all of those clients, which scared me to death, eventually saved my life at first, until life itself decided to build me up even stronger after that. So that essentially means that over the last 4 years, I've gone through some shit personally, physically, mentally, emotionally, within my relationships, my family, my friends, my business, everything, for lack of a better phrase, essentially blew up. My life blew up. And it's really because it had to. It had to blow up. It had to blow up in order for me to grow, to evolve, to become more conscious, to find myself again, to love myself again, to remember my power again, to find the glimmers of hope and resilience and perseverance that I knew were always within me. They had to really kind of be my guiding light and my force. So I really had to, it had to blow up to find myself. To find integrity, to find inner strength and courage and power. As another side note, I'm writing a book on all of this right now. It will be done by the end of the year, hopefully, and it will give you more detail on what I've been moving through, as I personally think the more that I can share the vulnerable pieces of my life, the more impact I can make. And a part of me also believes that what you go through, as insane as it can get, ultimately makes someone else who is going through something similar or something less crazy, it makes them feel like they've got this. And I want people to feel like that when they are with me. I want them to feel like, hey, she's got it. And so I got this. I can do this. I can move forward. I can keep going. But thankfully now, 4 years later, the dust has settled and some really amazing things came up during this phase of my life. And one in particular is this brand Sold, SOUL''D, and this movement that you are welcome to join. I founded Sold in 2023, and it has become my heart-centered soul mission to create a movement around it, because it's not about me. It's about you. We're moving people through the way we show up, be seen, and shine. We're selling with soul, meaning our souls have a say and they get to lead the way. So back to what I've been doing recently. I've been in a deep, deep space of surrender and trust at a degree I've never felt or experienced before. And I've been in this space for quite some time. I would probably say not to such a degree of intensity as it has been over the last several months. It's been harrowing, but also beautiful. And it has invited an opening, an awakening, as I feel as though I'm moving from one reality into the next. And the truth is, I used to think that I couldn't talk about this stuff, that it was only for the healers of the world, people like you, that I've helped to market themselves so that they can therefore spread the word about the wonderful work that they do. So I didn't think that a marketing consultant like me belonged in this world of spirituality and consciousness and deep inner work. Because as we know, marketing gets a bad rap. It's sleazy, it's salesy, it's pushy. It's just not meant for the world of consciousness. But I figured out a way where it could be. And it has to do with energy, the energy that we put behind something. So allow me to explain and bear with me, please, because I know that you're probably thinking, where are you going with this? We love to overdo it as humans. And I'm a perfect example of that. As a recovering perfectionist and control freak, I would do until I dropped. That was how I operated and functioned in this world. And most of the time, I was doing things that drained the life out of me. So remember the pre-pivot days I told you about? Woof, like, oh my God, it was horrible. It was so painstakingly painful to do it that it hurt my body. Like my body actually ached from doing the work. And, that's when you know. That's when you know. And I did it either because I felt obligated to do so or because I didn't know what else to do until one day it kind of hit me. As someone who teaches other entrepreneurs that the way to show up, be seen, and shine is through their vibe, I was overcomplicating the doing that went into it. Because the vibe isn't what you're doing, it's who you're being. And I started to remember the different energies I bring to what I do, or what I would say, or how I show up, and my entire beingness. Like, what was my vibe? And the energy that was me in my fullest power, my most radiant and magnetic self, who was just oozing with so much self love and self worth and service for all, was always the most powerful in creating impact and income. And the energy that was in my doing because I didn't know what else to do or had nothing else to do, that was neutral at best. That energy was neutral at best. My whole heart wasn't behind it. My energy wasn't behind it. It was a task on my list of to-dos, the ones that I move through day in and day out. And it took me years of deprogramming, deconditioning, reframing, and a whole lot of undoing for me to really understand this. The universe doesn't respond to what you're doing. It responds to who you're being. And even though I knew this, like quote unquote, knew this, like, oh yeah, I know that kind of level, I wasn't fully living it. I wasn't being it because there were still parts of me that had to fall away. And not fall away in that they were bad, I had to get rid of them. They had to dissolve so that I could reintegrate and fortify something new in their place. And these were the parts of me that fell victim to circumstances and challenges that were out of my control. These were parts of me that looked at other people's judgment and opinions as possible truth. So, like, example, Instagram. You post on Instagram, you don't get a lot of likes, you get no interactions whatsoever. That feels like something. That feels like it could be something triggering to someone who is looking for validation or understanding or something from others. So like that would be an example of the parts of me that really had to dissolve. It was also, the parts of me that were triggered by a slight, an inference, an occurrence that made me feel like I was under attack. And what freed me finally, was an epiphany, which became just my overall outlook on life as it is that life just is. I can feel all of the feelings of dread and hopelessness and despair, and at the same time, completely transcend them all into a state of life that just is. It just is. And it's in being in this space where I have felt and therefore witnessed the most miracles, the most possibilities, the most amazing freedom to just receiving life as it is. So that's where my life force energy is going. That's where the life force energy of marketing is going in this new paradigm. The receiving mentality of it just is it's life. It just is. Life just is. Just like you just are. And without all the labels and identities and titles, we're all just being humans, being human beings. So, this episode is for you, my fellow human being, who may or may not be overdoing it a little bit. Because if you are, give yourself grace, put your foot on the brakes, and just be. Allow the love within you to completely fill you up and move from there. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Until next week, be well and take care.